Did he get back on the computer after you?
Gee. All right, I have 6 o'clock. Miss Cindy? So go ahead and call this meeting to order. Start with a roll call, please. Ms. Jenkins, roll call, please.
Okay. Ms. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mr. Moore? Ms. Simmons?
Here.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
Mr. Moore?
All right, everyone's here. Thank you very much. For our pledge of allegiance tonight, I've asked my daughter, Darby, to lead us in the pledge. So we're going to see how this works. All right, try it, Darby.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Okay, consider approval of board minutes from April the 21st, 2020. Do I hear a motion that we accept them?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I second.
I think that was Mr. Dominguez made the motion and Ms. Simmons seconded it. Anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion carries by common consent. On to item 2A. Consider approval of the certificate of substantial completion for the Rancho High School drainage improvements by Mr. J.D. Stevens. Do I hear a motion that we accept that?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Simmons has made the motion to accept the certificate of completion. Seconded by?
Second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Dominguez. Any discussion on this? Any questions? Mr. Snottlebacher, you want to give us just a brief rundown of that project?
Yes, sir. The project was originally approved by the board in July of 2019. The board approved budget was $50,353. We took bids. The bid was approved at the capital outlay meeting on November 5th, 2019. The low bidder was from J.D. Stevens for $49,577.64. It took a little time. We waited for football season to end. We got the material out there. Now that, the last couple of weeks where the kids weren't on campus, they were able to go ahead and complete the work. The work's now completed. This is drainage improvements. It's going to focus around the rear of the gym. It will help facilitate the drainage of water from behind the gym, on the side of the gym, and in the front of the gym. And it drains the water to the east side across Rancho School Highway Road. Work is completed, and this starts the lean period.
All right. Any other questions? I see a lot of unmuted mics, so either that means everybody has questions or we just hadn't muted our mics back. Ms. Simmons?
The only question is, so this is going to set the stage for the track house,
The field house project, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
But it was needed without the project. It was needed without the field house.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
So this is not part of the field house. This was needed in addition to.
Correct.
Okay. Let me look again. I do not see any other mics unmuted. So if that's the case, I'll entertain, I guess we'll go straight to a vote. Roll call vote, Ms. Jenkins?
Ms. Simmons,
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Toller,
Yes.
Ms. Abrams,
Yes.
Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Okay, I just was entered into the audio. I've not been able to hear anything that's been going on since it started. I've been privy to the video, so
Okay.
I
All right,
I have no idea what it is that we're voting on here.
Okay, Mr. Moore, let me catch you up real quick. This is certificate of substantial completion. We had some drainage work that was done at Rancho High School on the football field. The contractor has finished the work, and now this starts the process of the lien period where we say that the project is complete. The architects have checked to make sure that it is complete. Mr. Snodderbock is on board with it being complete. And this is just the board ratifying the fact that he has done his work.
Okay, yeah, I did review that, so yes, I'm okay with that. My vote on that is a yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Okay, you're welcome.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Westmoreland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item 2B, consider approval of the declaration of emergency related to the storm damage to the Rancho High School modular classroom building. Let's get that in the form of a motion first so we can discuss it. Do I hear that in the form of a motion?
I'll make,
Motion that we approve this declaration emergency storm damage.
Okay, I have a motion then by Ms. Abrams, and then I'll take a second then from Ms. Simmons. So the motion's on the floor. Mr. Snodderbock, do you want to give us a rundown of that?
Yes, sir. Last Thursday night, a storm came through our community. A tree near one of the 8-plex modular classrooms buildings on the Rancho High School campus fell. The tree trunk fell on one of the 16 components of the 8 modular classroom and damaged it substantially. It also fell, the upper part of the tree fell on a second component and gave it slight damage. Under our contract, our lease contract with Satellite Shelters, the contract specifically states that if there is damage to the equipment, that the lessor, which would be Satellite Shelters, shall repair the equipment at the lessee's expense, or the lessor's option is to let the lessee repair it. They have chosen to repair it at our expense. They identify that one of the components needs to be replaced. The cost to replace, to deliver, to set up, to remove, and dispose of the old trailer is $62,941. The cost to repair the second component is $4,035. We didn't have the quote, we just got it in yesterday. The motion's asking to declare a declaration of emergency, allowing the superintendent and the administration to go ahead and enter into contracts to make the repairs as needed. The concern for the administration is that this component needs to be built in the factory. It's not something that's in stock that they can just ship. The factory will build and it should be completed and delivered in June. Will give us the month of July to set up to have the building available in August.
Okay, Ms. Simmons, you're unmuted, so do you have a question?
no.
Okay, Ms. Richards? See, I do not see any. The only questions I had, and I expressed those to Mr. Snodderbock today, the fact that we have a lease building that we do not own, and then the people who own it are telling us whether to repair or to replace, and obviously they have a vested interest in replacing. It just seems to me like, and as the board knows, I like to see more than one price or more than one estimate. And in this situation, one person's telling us what we have to do, and that's the people who own the building. So we're purchasing the building, and then we're going to continue to lease the building, and that's kind of hard. So I would hope that in the future, we would look at our contracts a little closer to see if we have a little more say in repair or replace, or if we can get more than one bid to see that we can better spend. I think right now our back's against the wall on this one, but Mr. Bush, your mic is unmuted, so you have the floor.
Yes, that was one of the things there. So I just want to make sure I'm straight on this. We're buying this building for $50,000 whatever dollars a building, doing all this, getting it moved, and then we're going to turn around and lease it also every month.
That's correct, because what we do is we don't own the building. The leaseor owns the building, and while we were taking use of the building got damaged.
Wow.
So the tree fell on it. A tree fell on it.
I saw the pictures. I rode out there.
I thought you asked how.
Yeah, I saw that, but this is definitely something we have to revisit, because accidentally, I think accidentally you sent us all those lease agreements of those other buildings, and we're paying $3,000 a month. But that's another topic. Mr. Shamba, I got one more question. It says removal of old trailer and tear down for $2,200. The return of old trailer is $450, and then disposal of old trailer is $2,500. That's over $5,000. We don't have a maintenance department that with the machinery can go out there and tear this thing down and take it to our landfill in Independence, and we can save $5,000.
The owner gave us an option to do some of that. As at this particular time, it's still on the table. And again, this is an estimated number. We just got it in yesterday morning, so there's some discussion. I have not had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Bracy to see what we can and can't do. But some of this is disposal fees at the dump. So some of the things are going to the dump to be paid fees, I imagine.
But our landfill, correct me if I'm wrong, that we don't have a disposal fee, correct?
Well, we may not. I don't know. Again, like I said, this is a budgeted figure. It's not a confirmed fee on. The only thing that's a hard price on this, these are a hard price, is the purchase of the building. So I would imagine the rest of these fees are still a budgeted figure. It's not the actual invoice fee. And again, we just got the invoice yesterday. The motion's really to give the administration the authority to move forward to make the repairs.
What?
Mr.
Make
Bush,
the
go ahead.
decision to move forward on getting the building repaired.
Ms. Abrams, you are unmuted.
Yes, did I read correctly that our deductible on this building is $1,000?
Yeah, our property insurance has a SIR of $100,000. That's correct. That's our insurance policy on all buildings.
So we insure this building, we lease this building, and we're having to pay for a new building. Why do we have to lease it from this company?
This building was added to our campus when we implemented the new student assignment plan back in 2016. The court only allowed us a 2-year window on leasing this equipment, and then we've asked for an extension for the last 2 years, and I asked for an extension for 1 more year to Ms. Bass. That's why y'all inadvertently got the emails, because we're waiting for court approval to go ahead and extend this, because we haven't had the opportunity to build permanent construction on these campuses.
Mr. Bush?
So I guess I'm asking, we vote on this tonight. Do we ever have to revisit this at all? I mean, so it's a done deal, it's over?
Yeah, the motion is to give the administration, declare an emergency declaration, to give the administration to make the needed decisions to repair this building. The document that we've attached from satellite is additional information that came after the agenda was set up. It's just telling you what we think the cost will be, not to exceed figure.
Is it within our authority before in this declaration, can you take the authority to reach out to a local contractor to see what a local price would be to repair? Since the building is not ours, and I spoke to Mr. Bracy today, we had concerns about it being a pre-assembled building and not being able to repair it properly. Obviously, we want to do everything we can with safety in mind. But since this is someone else's building, would it be smart to get a contractor to come in and give us his opinion on what it would cost to repair in place before we commit to doing what Shelter wants to do?
That's a question for Mr. Moody. I mean, the contract's really specific. The lessor has the authority to make the decision. It's not our decision here. And we signed the contract.
Right. Mr. Westmoreland, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just going to ditto some of the concerns that you pointed out and Mr. Bush has pointed out, that, you know, we got all these modular buildings. We're paying $400,000 a year just to rent them. They tell us what to do, when to do it. I think this is something we definitely need to look into and change.
I agree.
Mr. Toller?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Duncan.
Just a couple of things. I absolutely agree with Mr. Westmoreland and others that have expressed the need to try to get rid of these modular buildings, especially the least modular buildings. That's been a stated goal of the board for many years now. Of course, the reason that we did those in the first place is because we don't have the funding from the public to do permanent structures or to even purchase these modular buildings. So it was a lease that was required to comply with the desegregation order and bring us to the point that we're at now to finally bring that case to a close. On the issue though that we're talking about tonight, Mr. Snoddelbach, my understanding of why we're in the situation we are on this vote tonight is that, as is the case with most commercial leases, there is a provision in the commercial lease that requires that insurance be purchased on the property that's being leased. We elected to cover these buildings through our regular general insurance provisions, and that insurance provision requires a $100,000 deductible for any sort of event or loss. Am I correct so far, Mr. Schneider?
You are correct. And the cost on the damage waiver program would have been excessive, and we decided not to move that in that direction to insure this property with the vendor. And we decided to self-insure.
Right. They could have, again, with any commercial lease, you can offer to, or you can elect to let the owner of the property purchase the insurance, and we just pay their insurance premium on top of the rent. But we didn't do that. We just covered these buildings on our normal, under the insurance that we already had on all of our other buildings, right?
Correct.
And so because we did it that way, we have to cover our deductible for this loss, which is higher than what the actual loss is.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, but the contract allows the owner of the property to dictate how they're going to be compensated for the loss. They get to decide whether we have to replace it or repair it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Moore, I see you're unmuted.
Yes. Okay, so I understand everything that's been said up to this point. The one thing that I'm not particularly, I don't have a thorough understanding of, is the fact that we are bound to allow the leaser to decide how this building is repaired and who does the repairs. That is the one point, the one factor in all of this that I haven't gotten a thorough understanding of. So I don't know if Mr. Moore Snugglebot can do that or not.
Mr. Moore, it's in the lease contract we signed. Paragraph 8 specifically states that the leaseor, the owner of the building, determines how the damaged building will be repaired at, and it specifically says at the leasee's expense. That would be at our expense.
Okay, Mr. Bush, you're still unmuted. Do you have another comment?
Just one other thing. Mr. Staubach, could you, does the contract say about how to remove the old trailer or how to tear it down or disposal of it?
No, it doesn't say that.
Okay.
Now, what the vendor offered to us is that we could remove the old building if we want to hire a contractor to do that, but they would require that their individual oversee the work and that we would be paying the cost of their individual. I think that would add up to even more cost. But again, those decisions on exactly how the building was going to be removed and how it was going to, the damaged building would be disposed of hasn't been made yet. Again, the information that's in front of you is really a budget figure. We're asking for a declaration of emergency to give the administration the decision to move forward, not to define any particular expense. And certainly we can gather more information on the removal and disposal of the damaged equipment.
And I think one thing, Mr. Bush, to keep in mind too, and I think you have the image of a portable building, but keep in mind these buildings are connected. So the entire 8 complex, you know, if we came in and we tore off the outside complex and left it exposed, it would ruin something else. And that's why they're concerned about, you know, doing it all at one time.
I've seen them many times, so.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Staubach, not off topic. When this happened years ago before most of us were school board members, this was the best deal we could get. I mean, on leasing, and then if it breaks, we fix it, and then we still lease it. This company, Satellite, I think is the name of them.
Yeah, this company's been a very good vendor for us, and this was the arrangements we were able to obtain at the time. Keep in mind, we were moving forward with a student assignment plan, and building new classrooms wasn't an option. Leasing was the only option that was available at the time. And this vendor was able to come in and in a very short period of time, install not only one 8 complex building, but 3 8 complex buildings and 2 6 complex buildings on 5 different campuses.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I've got 3 of them real quick. I'm gonna try to get to everybody quickly as I can. Ms. Richards?
My concern is that I just would like, if we have a local contractor that would just kind of give us, just for informational purposes, so that we would be able to negotiate with them to see if it's in the ballpark, a fair ballpark for the repair. I understand that it's their equipment and it's there so that we have to replace what's been damaged, you know, but are we comfortable? I mean, what makes us comfortable with the 62,000 as opposed to knowing that, you know, and then even if we went to the table with them, could we also say that we do know someone that could repair it for less?
Okay.
Certainly can do that.
Ms. Abrams?
But you said that we have another year with this lease on this particular.
No, the lease is expired. So right now in the process, if we don't get approval from the federal court to extend the lease, then we would be removing these 18 classrooms off of this campus. We'll be removing it's 16 classes on Rancho High. It would be 8 on the elementary, 8 on the middle. It'd be 6 at Neeson. It'd be 6 at Ponchatoula High. And then be 4 over at Hammond East Side. Those buildings would all be removed. And I think 2 at Independence Leadership Academy. So those are the ones that we're currently seeking the court to extend that lease for another year, as they've done for the last 2 years.
But Mr. Schnadelbach, even if the lease expired, we would still have to replace this property owner's property.
Yes.
His property was destroyed while we were renting it. We chose the insurance coverage that we chose, and we have to live with the deductible and the terms of the agreement that we elected to include in the contract.
Okay. Ms. Dominguez?
So coming back to what you had said earlier about removing the building and leaving it exposed, if these people come in and take it out right away, they're going to be liable then if it's exposed, correct? So if we're waiting around for our people to come and clean it up and move it out, then what, in the meantime, maybe something worse may happen. And then I'm not sure about the landfill, but I know we brought you know, things to throw away at the landfill, and we paid by the pound. So I'm not sure how that exactly works, but I know that's what we did when we went there. So I would think this building would weigh a lot. It would probably cost a good bit to just dispose of it at the landfill. I mean, those are options that need to be done, but this motion is just to give our superintendent authority to start the process. And will they come back to us, or will we just give her authority to go ahead and fix and repair what she sees fit, is the question.
Well, the motion is to give her the authority to take action to do the repair. We've already done some work. We've already hired a tree removal company to come in and remove the tree. And our maintenance crew went in and shored up the roof of the building and the sides of the building to preserve what's there, not to allow any moisture to get into the building. So we've done some things already. We need the board to declare the emergency so we can continue taking action to repair, replace, or whatever the administration feels is needed to restore these classrooms.
Okay, I do not see any open mics, so I'm assuming that there are no other questions. Being no other questions, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any public input, Ms. Jenkins, on this item? We do not. No. Mr. Duncan, your mic is open. I'm assuming that's to vote. Okay.
Ready to vote, yes.
So roll call vote, please.
Mr. Westmoreland,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Miss Abrams,
Yes.
Mr. Bush,
Seems like we have no choice. Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Toller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries. All right, thank you for that. Item 2C, virtual senior celebrations, and I would happily turn this meeting over to Ms. Dilley and let her take over. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President, and hello to the board and everyone out there listening to our meeting live. I first want to start off by talking about our senior celebrations. As we all know at this point, we're very familiar with the fact that since the COVID-19 outbreak, it has made it necessary to postpone what we know as our traditional graduation ceremonies. We all know that the senior year is a milestone in the lives of our students, and we want to make sure that we showcase our students and our seniors in particular for the class of 2020. So on behalf of the school system and all of us, the board, myself, we would like to congratulate all of our seniors out there and their families for their accomplishments. Our seniors, I was thinking about this the other morning, our seniors this year are a shining example of how we all should respond when life throws us a curveball. And there's no doubt in my mind that these seniors are equipped to handle whatever life may throw their way. So we want to just say hats off to our seniors. In an effort to be able to celebrate our seniors on the night that the original graduations were scheduled, the Tangipahoa Parish School System will be releasing senior celebration videos on the scheduled graduation nights. These senior celebrations do not take the place of the traditional graduation ceremonies that we will have later when we can do that. But rather, it is a way that we can celebrate, just do a little something for our seniors during this time. The senior celebrations will kick off tomorrow night, Wednesday night, with Rancho High at 7 o'clock. And so it will be a live feed or off from the Rancho High School's Facebook page, I believe our district Facebook page as well. And so followed by Thursday night, we'll have Independence High School at 7 o'clock. Friday night, Ponchatoula High School at 7 o'clock. Saturday night at 7 o'clock will be Amite High School. That's this week. So we have Laranja, Independence, Ponchatoula, and Amite High this week. Then on Monday, we start with Sumner High School at 7 o'clock. Tuesday night would be Hammond High School. And then Friday night would be Kentwood High School's virtual celebration. I want to say here, I want to give a special shout out and a thank you to the school-based staff that spent in our high schools, that spent many hours collecting pictures, gathering information to send to the vendor for these virtual senior celebrations. It was a lot of work on their end. These celebrations would not be happening if it were not for these dedicated individuals at our high schools. And they know who they are. Usually it's one or two people designated. Sometimes there's the senior sponsors. But every high school, each of our 7 high schools had someone or two that were gathering this information and sending it in so that we could celebrate our seniors during the month of May. We have developed on our website a frequently asked questions document just for seniors, because we know that the seniors and their families may have many questions during this time. So we have a frequently asked questions document on our website for them, and we encourage the seniors and their families to check out this document. It's updated weekly, and as we get questions, particularly around seniors, we then turn around and add that to our document. The number one question that we have on our frequently asked questions document is this one: when will the real traditional graduations take place? And so I'm going to read that response to you tonight. We're hoping to host our traditional in-person graduations later in the summer. Of course, this will be determined when it's safe to be able to do that. Further graduation plans will be made available on our website, on our Facebook page, through our electronic newsletter that we send out. And of course, every senior will receive their own personal email from the district and from the school once those plans are finalized. And we're hoping within the next few weeks, we can give more concrete information to families and the seniors and their families in regards to when their traditional graduation ceremony can take place. So at this time, I'm going to pause for a minute and just see if the board has any questions in regards to seniors, the senior celebrations, and moving forward with our seniors. Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic, which is agenda item D, the CARES Act Education Funding Update. And so I have a few pages here I want to talk about, and I hope it's not too much, but I think it's really exciting information to have. The CARES Act is additional federal money that is being disseminated through the state departments down through the local school districts across the state. And on Friday, we learned that our district will be receiving over $7 million from the Federal CARES Act. Over $7 million from the Federal CARES Act. A portion of this $7 million, it's a little over $7 million, is dedicated for our non-public schools here in Tangipahoa Parish. This percentage is determined by the Louisiana Department of Education, and at this time, we do not know that percentage. So a percentage of the $7 million would go to our non-public schools, but we should know by the end of the week have a better, more concrete answer on the percentage that will go out to our non-public schools, and we will be communicating that with those organizations. These funds, this CARES Act funding that we'll be receiving for our school district will be distributed through the federal Title I funding stream. And the reason for that is to ensure that the alignment of the funding, of how we're spending our funding here in Tangipahoa Parish, is aligned to the priorities that are identified in the Strong Start Plan planning guide. I shared that with the board members earlier. Anyone out in the public can go to the Louisiana Department of Education's website. You can find the Strong Start 2020 planning guide that gives districts guidance on how to utilize this additional federal funding from the CARES Act. Our system, by the end of the month, our school system will need to go into the EGMS system, that's the grant funding mechanism, to identify our priorities and to seek approval from the department on how we can utilize this funding moving forward. And so at this time, I wanted to highlight a few things that are in the planning guide of how we will spend our funding. One of the first things that they identify in the planning guide is that number one, we, meaning our school districts across the state, must have a plan for the missed time that our students have been out of school. So from March 15th, maybe something like that, on to the end of May. Many of our students have had the opportunity and have had the done the optional learning materials that we have, but starting for August, all districts in the state must have a plan. Of course, identified in this planning document is that we must identify the students, the academic needs for every student. And we do that by doing a diagnostic assessment in the beginning of school. Secondly, we then have a plan for every student, which includes additional time, which we're calling gap time or intervention time for students that are not proficient in their standards. And for those students who are proficient, meaning they're at mastery on those skills and standards that we would have had from March to May, those students will be provided challenging enrichment type activities that are both rigorous and relevant to their content areas. So we have a plan for all students, not just the students that have gaps, but even the students that are proficient and are ready for that grade level. And then the other piece is that we have to have really clear steps for high school students who are recently graduating to make sure that they have completed their credentialing. For instance, if they were trying to get a credentialing in welding or nursing assistant, that we help them finish that quickly so that they are ready for the job market to help our economy. The next part of the CARES Act funding planning guide is that we have to prepare for the future in terms of future closures, or if we have to have any kind of modified operations in August. Will we be in phase 2? Will we be in phase 3 of the reopening of America? And if so, what kind of modified operations will we need to have in our schools? So the next section of this planning guide really focuses on, now that first part is let's know the gaps of our students, let's fill the gaps, and let's catch them up where they need to be quickly. Second part is, okay, we've got a plan for if something like this were to happen again, we have to be ready to have continuous learning without interruption, whether the students are in the classroom or on the couch at home. Learning can't stop. It has to be continuous. And so they have outlined 4 or 5 key things. One is we have to make sure that every student in our school system has a device. That's the first thing that they can take home so that learning can continue. And secondly, they have to have access to internet in order for that to happen. And so one of the things that we're planning is to spend a majority or most, if not maybe half to a majority of our funding to try to get the one-to-one computing, which we have been trying to do for many years now. Now is the opportunity to get that done. It relates back to our strategic plan, something that we've been working on for several years to try to accomplish. And now we have the funding to make that happen. We want to have another thing, versatile models of learning where maybe we have full virtual, maybe we have blended models or in the classroom models, but we have to be ready for the future because we know now that things can change day by day. Whether we're in the bricks and mortar building, we're ready. If we have to do online, we'll be ready. And if it's something in between, we'll be ready. And that's really the focus of this funding that's coming down from the Federal CARES Act. The four major priority areas is core academics, identifying the gaps, which I've already said that, and having a plan for those students. Secondly is our diverse learners, whether they're English, they do not speak English, their English is second language for them. We have to have a plan for them. We have to have a plan for our students with disabilities in terms of what they need to be prepared for now and the future. And then also the social emotional support. You know, we were having a Zoom call earlier this week with our principals, and I said this, you know, our students have been through a lot. Their families have been through a lot. And so one of the things we want to do is be able to offer them those social emotional supports that they need in order to actually learn the academics. The third priority for the funding is professional development for our educators, because teaching virtual classrooms is much different than face-to-face classrooms. And so we have to prepare our workforce for the virtual world. Should we have any kind of closings in the future where learning is not, so that we're not interrupting learning for students. And then the last priority in the funding pot is, of course, purchasing the devices, purchasing the connectivity for every student, all 20,000 of them, to have one-to-one technology. And then we also can utilize this funding to add additional pre-K seats where we see the need and we have the capacity in our buildings to do that. So I know I've said a lot about this. You might could tell I'm super excited about the opportunity to have this $7 million or close to it. We realize that may not be our final number. But I said this to the board. I remember I think it was our last board meeting face-to-face in the boardroom. And I remember saying, you know, this is our opportunity to make lemonade out of lemons. And this is our opportunity to bring one-to-one here to our students in Tangipahoa Parish. I know that we're in the beginning phases of planning this out, and there's lots of questions. Look, there's more questions than we have answers to right now. But as I told the principals on a Zoom call today, and all of our leadership team, you know, there's some smart people in this district, a lot of smart people, and we're going to figure this out, and we're going to figure it out together. All the logistics, all the details, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? We're going to work through it together as a team. And we commit to keeping the board and the public informed as we move forward. It's a wonderful funding opportunity for us to accomplish something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time. And so we're excited about it. And I'm going to say it again. This school district, this parish, is receiving over $7 million. Let that sink in. Now, keep in mind that there is a percentage that is going to non-public, but that's still a lot of money to get done what we need to get done for our students. And we're excited about that. So at this time, I'm going to stop. I know I've shared a lot of information, and I'm going to see what questions the board has for me about the CARES funding, the federal funding that from the CARES Act. Cindy, you'll have to tell me if someone's unmuted. I can't see all the, I see Tom is unmuted.
He just
Computer
came back.
decided to shut down, so I apologize. I lost you for a second. Let me go through and see if anyone rose. Mr. Minguez?
Yes, I had spoken to Ms. Stilley earlier today about all this. It's a lot. It's a lot of stipulations to get the money, but I think a lot of it we've already been doing. Our employees, which by the way, it's Teachers Appreciation Week, so we're so proud of all our staff for working so hard all year. We want to let them know how much we love and appreciate them. But they've all been working, trying to get some of this academics, set up. And I know as a state school board member, for the last several years, and Ms. Simmons and Mr. Duncan, we've gone to the National Advocacy Institute and we've lobbied many years for our government to help fund things that would put broadband in all these rural areas that don't have it, because it's part of it. We definitely, have been working on that, and I think it's going to be so great that we're going to actually get some funds for this. My only concern, and I think I mentioned it to Ms. Stilley today, was, what's going to happen in the future when we're not getting this CARES Act money in order to keep it up, which is the only thing. So that was one of the logistics that I'm sure we'll have to work out budget-wise. But I do think it's great, and I appreciate all the information that you emailed us. I was able to read it all and pretty much understand it. And like I said, as a state school board member, we've kind of been on the forefront of it to start with. So I'm really, really looking forward to what we can do in this new digital technology. So I appreciate everything y'all can do to work it out. And I know it's going to be a lot of extra work on everybody, and we're already going to give you kudos for doing it. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Moore?
Yeah, and I tell you, it is wonderful news, Melissa. It's one of the things that I brought up, and I've been concerned about it. I've been praying about it, because we do have a lot of disadvantaged kids out there who are going to be handicapped without this technology and without the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure that would allow them to actually use these devices. I saw earlier in the information that you sent out that we were looking at purchasing with a Kindle books, or I think it's
Chrome.
I think
it's Chromebooks.
Chromebooks.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to be an excellent, addition to dealing with this pandemic that we find ourselves into. Tom, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be excellent. So I'm looking forward. I'm anticipating seeing, what the very capable people we have in this administration are going to be able to do with this, and hopefully it will include some online teaching. Some, I think that is part of your plan. So I'm looking forward. I don't want to integrate too much stuff into this, because I'm more interested in seeing exactly what this collection of minds are going to come up with. And so I wish you well, and I'm praying for a collaboration of the great minds that we have, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bush, you had yours unmuted for a minute. Do you need anything?
I just wanted to say, Melissa, it's a lot of stuff, and so I'm in the process of going over it. So I'm sure in the future I'll have some questions, but it sounds great so far.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the superintendent?
Sandra.
Okay. Oh,
Can you hear
Miss
me?
Ms. Simmons?
Yeah, I'm very excited about what I just heard tonight, Ms. Dilly, because, you know, I forgot how it goes, but if we don't learn from the mistakes of the past, then in history, through history, it will repeat itself from the past for today. But what you're doing and what we're doing up at your level is trying to come against this again, because anything like this could happen again or worse.
Yeah.
Be prepared and to do what you do, and I'm just so excited about it, and especially this internet situation, because I'm not at my home now because it's so bad at my house. And I think about if I had a child there, we'd have to go somewhere every day, and to be able to for him to get his or she to get their schoolwork. So I just the broadband and all of the efforts to extend internet and the devices for our kids is it's a step in the right direction, and it's where we're going in the future. And I am so excited about the money that we'll be able to do that with. This is a major issue, and thank you so much, you and your team, for just being at the end of the game. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Toller, may I say one more thing?
Go ahead, Ms. Dillon.
I'd just like and Rose hit on this a few minutes ago, but I would like to say to all the teachers out there, the educators, the principals, the assistants, all those, everyone that's involved with education, a huge thank you. We do have a lot of bright, intelligent individuals who are thinking out of the box and thinking of how we can evolve in this ever-changing world that we're living in. And just kudos to them. You know, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and typically this week, you know, there's all kinds of exciting things happening in our schools, and everyone is, you know, honoring our teachers. And so I just want, you know, even though we can't do it in person, I just want our teachers to know that we all appreciate them very much.
Absolutely. All right, board member comments, starting with Mr. Westmoreland. Let you go first.
Yeah. I would like to say also that I'm very excited with the 7 million or how much ever we can get, because that can only help our district. And I'm looking forward also to what Ms. Dilly and her team is going to bring forth with this extra money that we're going to be able to use in our district. Yes, and I'd like to say thank you to each and every teacher in your Teacher Appreciation Week. Even though you're not in your regular classrooms, you are thought of and you are appreciated. And last but not least, congratulations to all our seniors, and I do look forward to actually when we can get together and celebrate what y'all have accomplished so far.
Absolutely. Ms. Sandra Bailey Simmons.
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity now, and as some of you have on Facebook, to offer my condolences to Mr. Rancho and his family in that loss of a great individual who I shared as a board member many experiences. Mr. Tank and I fought many battles for Rancho together, and he was very special to me. And I have certainly been praying for Ron and his family in this loss. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Janice Richards.
Yes, I'd also like to offer my condolences, Mr. Jinko. And to Superintendent, when we first started going through this, you were like, okay, let's not get so down, let's look for the silver lining. And I guess this 7 million will be part of our silver lining, with the experience and the education that and the strength we'll get from this. Just like Ms. Bailey said, I was very, very happy to hear that one of the requirements will be that every child have the same access to the internet service, because here on the northern end, it's very, very difficult. And even if we had the materials, we couldn't use them. So now, with that being said, we just pray that we will be able to sustain it. And after this is over with, we're going to have to put our heads together to make sure that we continue to keep it.
Absolutely. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, also, I would like to express my condolences to Mr. Jinko and his family. This is my first time hearing about it. And most certainly, I will keep you in my prayers. I would like to say that I believe that when Christ said that the power of life and death are in the tongue, speak life, that he did not exclude the differences between hope and disparity. And even though there is a lot to despair, there's a whole lot more to hope for. So I say to the teachers out there and to everyone else who is involved in Melissa and your administration, to keep hope alive. and and remember that love is the key and overcomes everything. So I like I said before, I have confidence that that we will be able to pull this off with the administration and the input of every person. Every teacher is equally important, and I don't want I'm hoping that there won't be one teacher who feels that they're not a valuable part of this. And and I'm hoping for great things.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Duncan.
I can't add anything to that. That was, I I guess ditto everything that everybody else has said, and want to let Mr. Ron know that we love him and love his family, and we're praying for him.
Okay, very well said. Mr. Mingus.
Yes, I'm really, I'm a people person, so I'm not a big fan of these Zoom meetings, so I'll be glad when we can all get out together. I know our employees are working hard. I'm so impressed with all the things that I've been seeing them do to recognize, principals to recognize their staff. And also, you know, people have adopted teachers and they've adopted seniors. And I mean, everybody is just as Miss Dilly just said, we're making lemons out of lemonade. And I really missed the communication. It's like 7 weeks, and I left the house finally, and I went and cheered on our seniors at Ponchatoula High when they came through the drive up to pick up their announcements and their things that they had ordered from Herb Jones, and they were still excited, even though they know they're not going to have that graduation yet. But of course, the number one question is, when is their graduation? And I just pray that, you know, working with Southeastern, that we can get that assembly center and get these graduations off the ground, because these children deserve it. The parents deserve it. We all deserve it. And I just wish them all well. And I thank you again for all the teachers that have been working so hard to communicate with their students. And I know they missed the one-on-one with their children as well, because that's why they went into this field in the first place. So God bless everybody. And Ron, I know I've already spoken to you. You know, I loved your daddy. He was just such a great mentor and such a great leader, and we're just going to miss him. And we just pray for you and your family and your sister and all your just every one of y'all. I know it's been a hard road, and we wish you nothing but the best moving forward with your family. So God bless everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all soon.
Okay, Mr. Bush.
Hey, Ron, are you muted? Get unmuted, Ron.
All right, sir.
Did you read what your wife said about on Facebook about being a Jinko?
She showed me, yes. I'm not a Facebook person, but she showed me.
Ron, that's it, buddy. That's what your dad was to our community.
Well, yeah, I appreciate all the kind words, and thank you for the thoughts and prayers. We appreciate it more than you know. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, we praying for you, buddy. Your dad was a great man up there with Elton Shaw and Gary Henry and Donald David Career. When you think about Jim Morrison, Baglio, you think about Tank Jinko.
Thank you. Thank
He'll
you.
be remembered for a long time, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as Miss Rose said, we're moving right along.
Yes, sir, buddy. Yes, sir. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and congratulations to our seniors.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bush. Ms. Abrams. Robin, you're still muted. I'm sorry.
I said I didn't get to go to work with Mr. Jinko, but actually went all through high school and all through elementary school with his son. And Mr. Tank taught us more than civics in high school. He taught us life lessons. And he was just a one of a kind when we went through Independence High School, and he's going to be remembered for a long, long time. And I know he's so proud of Ron. I have great news. I already have one grandbaby that was born April the 11th, and I have one due this week. So I'm going to be grandma twice in a matter of 4 weeks. So say prayers for my daughter this week that she has a safe delivery. We already had one safe delivery. And best of luck to all the seniors. We wish you all the best. People say it's just a graduation, they'll get it. No, they won't. This means the world to them right now. This is their world. And I just want to send prayers out to them to know that we're all thinking about them, and we hope to make that their graduation is going to be the best. And to all the teachers and principals out there that are doing extra things, thank you so much. I saw on Facebook yesterday that Roseland Elementary went to all of the 8th grade students' houses and did a parade and signs in their yard. Little things like that, that's again, all of this seem like it's going to be okay. And we want to thank all of our teachers for just going that extra mile. Ms. Stilley, thank you so much for being the leader that you are, because without you, none of us could do what we're doing.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Abrams. Really don't have anything other to add, other than just to remind the seniors again that when possible, they will graduate, and we will have a ceremony where we can honor them. Mr. Ron, I spoke to you personally on this, but hats off to you and your family. Our condolences go out to y'all, praying for you, and I hope you feel a little bit of sense of comfort knowing that so many people think that highly of Mr. Tank and your family. So, anything else from any of the board members? Ms. Stilley, do you have anything to add?
No, just other than that, we will keep everyone informed, as well as the public, as we move forward. And as I tell the principals today in a Zoom conference, that, we can't let the fear of the unknown hold us back. There's lots of fears right now among people. And so we have to look past our fear and know that, there's fears about, all the devices and the connectivity, and there's fears about finance, and there's fears about how teaching will be different. And there's fears about, will school be the same in August? But we don't, we can work through this together, and we will work through it together. We'll work out all the logistics and the details, and we'll do it together. And we'll keep everyone informed along the way. We commit to you to do that. And it's just really exciting times happening. And I agree with Robin and some of the other board members saying that, seeing the exciting things that schools are doing for students and for their teachers, for Teacher Appreciation Week, is really uplifting in this time where this is really all had sort of this event, as I call it, COVID-19 and the stay-at-home order, has almost like a psychological effect on us, especially those of us, like Rose said, that love people and want to be around people and talk to people. And but we will get through this together. And I firmly believe that when we get through to the other side of this, we will be better and stronger because of it, both as individuals and as an organization. And I just want to thank all the board members for your support as we move through this uncharted water. And also a huge thank you to our team, Mr. Jinko, Mr. Schneiderbach, Dr. Hurst, Ms. Fassell, our principals, our other supervisors, because let me tell you something, I wouldn't want to be on these waters that we're in right now without this team alongside me. And that includes all of you on this call. So just thank you for all that you do to support our work.
Absolutely. And we didn't recognize her. In the meeting, we do have Dr. Hurst, Mr. Schneiderbach has spoken, and Mr. Jinko as well is participating. Y'all have anything to add before we close out?
Again, just like to thank everybody for the kind words, the thoughts and prayers for our family during this time. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Jinko. All right. Hearing no other business, I hear a motion that we adjourn. So moved. Motion accepted. Y'all. Thank y'all.